Good evening, everybody. How are you? How are you doing? Thank you very much for joining us here tonight, the wXw Monday Livestreams with Marc and Mett. My name, for all of you who might not know me, is Marc Shuttle. I will be one of your hosts here this evening, and I'm very, very excited to finally be presenting to you tonight, after a 2-week delay, the trial of Norman Harras live here on YouTube. If you're joining us here live, please say hi in the chat. Let us know where in the world you are joining us from tonight, and let us know what you want to hear Norman Harras say about some of the many, many things he has done and been accused of during his time as Director of Sports here at wXw. Good evening, Dan. How you doing, my friend? Great to see you. Good evening, everyone. Before we get into that, I'm going to bring on my co-host this evening. He's been having some webcam troubles, and he assures me in the chat it's fixed. But I'm...
All rise for the Honorable Judge Mett. Order! Order! Order in my courtroom!
What?
It is time for the trial of Mr. Norman Harras. I said order, goddammit.
What are you doing?
Well, it's quite simple, isn't it? It is a trial. It has been called a trial for so long, and a trial requires a judge. I will be the judge in this situation. And you are all my jury.
Okay.
What have I actually signed up for here?
Oh, no, of course you would say that. You are only the defendant right now, Mr. Norman Harras, and be careful. We have much in the sense of evidence.
What? Mett,
Mark, would you please do me a favor and tell me what is going on here?
I, I mean,
You have the card, Mr. Marc.
Mett, I know we were calling this the trial of Norman Harras, but that was like more marketing, right? Get people interested, excited. Is this what your tweet was about earlier?
Yes,
Can you drop that horrific British accent, please? Jesus, please, no.
Okay, deal. The accent's kind of hard to do, but
Oh
I
my
thought
God.
we said it's a trial, so I thought we needed a judge.
Are you wearing lipstick?
No, maybe it's lip revealer. It's a very manly thing. Hey, you look here. Keep this up, and you're going to be in content. All right, you're going to be in trial with him. All right, so be careful. God damn it.
Okay. Does that make me the prosecutor?
You are the prosecutor. I mean, you're the yes. I mean, yes.
Oh,
you're the prosecutor.
Okay, this has taken a very, very strange turn. Ladies and gents, thank you for joining us. The defendant, I guess, is here earlier than I expected, but yeah, great to see everyone. So thank you, Svenja. Great to see you. Thank you, Pom Pom Pom. Hello, how are you doing? Tim Hans, how are things? Plenty of people here. Thank you all for joining us. Okay, so you're the judge, then. You're in charge of this farce. What are we doing?
Well, Mr. Harras, do you?
Actually, we are not gonna start right there. That's not how we're gonna play this, okay? First off, we're not gonna waste 4 or 5 minutes of all our valuable time with the bullshit that you're dealing with, Matt. With your bullshit that we all have to deal with. What is even going on here? I'm not signing up for this. This was supposed to be a serious interview.
It is a serious interview. You have a judge, and if you want to be honest, if we're talking about living through bullshit, that's exactly what your reign was as sports director. Mr. Marc, would you care to lead this investigation further?
I guess, well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury here in the chat, if you have anything to add at any time, please do provide your own evidence, anecdotal or otherwise. Would very much love to have your input on this one. Norman Harras, the problems started almost a year ago now. You were named the director of sports, and almost immediately it appeared that you were abusing that power and that privilege bestowed upon you by way of rigging the shotgun lottery. You had not one, not two, but 3 opportunities to challenge Maggot for the shotgun championship. What do you have to say for yourself?
Actually, now that I'm revisiting that memory, I find it quite ironic that usually you say lightning never strikes twice, but in my case, I've been blessed in my life. I really have. That there are many great attributes that were just given to me from the beginning, and I appreciate that. So that was like a good starting bonus if we go back to the early days of Norman Harras, before wXw, before being director of sports. So having that head start to everybody else, that was always a good bank to deal with. It was a good hand, to say so, if we want to speak in poker terms. And the good hand, I have it on the table. I have it at roulette. That's actually, that's a fun fact. I am 100% successful on roulette games. I have never ever lost a game. And similar it was with the shotgun lottery. I mean, of course, I know that it might be a little odd that people who aren't as blessed, people who are not as lucky, they might be jealous of that. They might have once seen other people there. But in the end, we have to obey the rules. We have to obey the orders given by authorities. And therefore, I had no choice but to not only step up being chosen in the lottery once or twice. It would have simply not have been fair if I would have put myself out of the lottery for everybody else.
Oh, we're not talking about you being out of the lottery. We're talking about you miraculously, despite all the numbers, being called up not once, not twice, but thrice for that. You sure you didn't have any cards hidden up your sleeves, or you didn't tilt that roulette table, Mr. Harras?
This is quite a serious allegation, Matt, and you should know that one has to be careful with such words, because
Oh,
there's no proof for any of that. So
of course not.
you might wanna watch your mouth, okay?
I'm merely posing the question as the judge of this trial.
And I've given you a very distinctive answer to that.
Okay, so a follow-up question then. If, these drawings were all fair and genuine, let's give you the benefit of the doubt here. Why was it after that third challenge for the shotgun title, you, in a fit of rage, while speaking to Dan Malman, told everyone that the shotgun lottery was done, finished, Geschichte was your exact word at the time. Why? Why would you suddenly end it in that fit of rage, only to then double down days later when many of us had hoped that you would have come to your senses and realized the error of your ways? You doubled down and said, nope, shotgun lottery, one of the most beloved aspects of wXw live events, was done. Why?
You're touching on a very, very important topic there, Mark, and I would like to elaborate. So you just said that the shotgun lottery used to be one of the most entertaining parts of our program. That was correct. And maybe it has also played its part that I have been such a vocal point of it. But not talking about myself in that position, talking about the business. You have to stay ahead of the wave. Once the excitement starts to slowly decline, then you're already losing out. So when it's time to kill the cash cow, sometimes you have to make more room for innovation, to go on to the next big thing, to give the company the opportunity to grow. That's exactly what I did. It wasn't an easy choice. No, it was not easy. It was a very passionate choice, an emotional choice, so to speak. But it was, looking backwards, the very right choice to make.
But surely, by your own judgment here, the only reason that fans may have been becoming bored of the shotgun lottery was because that you had challenged for it 3 times and sensed that this wasn't completely above board. Thus, it would have been more than the right thing to do for you to step aside and let another challenger take your place for the benefit of wXw as a whole.
I actually would have loved to do that, but I could not. I was legally not able to. I could not pull myself out of the occasion, because then it would have not been a lottery. Then it would have been a rigged game. I know, I said it earlier. I said it earlier.
It was a rigged game. We all knew it was.
Hey, what? No. I'm not dealing with that kind of allegations here. That's not what I'm here for. We are here for dialogue. We are here for explaining. We are here for reflection. We are not here for rude allegations.
I allow it to stand. It's an argument. It's a dialogue. So of course you might have your argument and the fact that you don't agree with what Marc is saying, but if Marc is not yet convinced by your argument, then I'm afraid that's how a dialogue works. You have to argue once more.
You know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of a doubt here. I'm going to take the step back. I'm going to be the bigger man, and I'm trying to give Marc the metaphorical hand to pull him back up again. So, Mr. Shuttle, as I tried to explain earlier in very kind and slow words, I would have loved to not participate or no longer partaking in the lottery. I would have loved to have a more entertaining product, but everything runs its course. Like we've seen it with all your favorite movies, with all your favorite books. The excitement is there for the first one. People really want to see the second one, but in the end, it's just like the Hangover movies. It gets worse and worse.
You're right. Your repeated challenges did get worse and worse. You performed worse and worse in every subsequent match. But let's move on, shall we? Let's move forward to Shortcut to the Top. And if memory serves me correct, it was Rottenflot who approached you, and they were looking for you to do them a favour. What with, them having numbers which didn't quite work in their favour, and you said you would work something out for them. However, it appeared to everyone that you decided to take that opportunity to screw Rottenflot and give them both very early entries, granting yourself a very late entry into the contest, number 27, I do believe. How do you answer that allegation?
Like first off, you made a very good observation that the team of Rottenflot came to me when they had an issue. They raised their voice. They looked for their superior in the company. They wanted to speak to their manager to figure and sort things out. That's a great approach. I wish more people would have taken that whilst I was on duty as director of sports. Covering that, we have been in a dialogue, Rottenflot. They told me what are their pain points. They told me what they want me to address, what they want me to fix for a better working environment for them. And if I'm not mistaken, the wording was very much that they're looking for something a little closer together. And if I'm not mistaken once again, that is exactly what happens. They got a little closer together. I'm not saying anything was rigged, I'm not saying anything was fixed, I'm just saying when you address issues to the correct people, then stuff might get sorted out. But if you do so, you have to be very, very cautious that your specifications, like your wish, is very clearly defined.
Spoken like a true genie, Mr. Norman Harras. The wishes will be contorted, but I believe this would be a perfect moment to call for a short recess to allow the jury to conjure.
Well,
Somebody please translate that into sane language.
We
we're
will
going to speak
ask
to the
the
people in the chat for a couple of minutes before we move on, basically, and get their opinions, because there's plenty of opinions here, including Julian says this is a fair trial without legal representation for yourself. I wasn't even aware this was a full legal inquiry.
Mr. Harras is a very eloquent man. He can be his own representation.
No worries. I have been very, very well prepared.
There we go. And Julian continues, go Norman, speak up king. Dan, very rightfully so, says that the things Norman Harras is accused of are very, very serious. And there are some very serious allegations we have coming up later on. Deadly serious, potentially. Although Niels says Harras for president. I'm not sure what, president of the book club, maybe? Ghost says he sees no evidence and says that Norman is not guilty.
Actually, I really appreciate how the chat holds up the mirror for the two clowns that you are. Because you are trying to rig this all. You're trying to fix it. And
I'm not trying to fix anything. There's only one clown here, and that would be Judge Mulberg right there.
Hey, I thought look, we're a team, all right? Listen, nothing is being played or rigged. We are showing things as they are, and we are showing the true colors of what happened over this entire reign of terror that happened. Of course, I say that with the most unbiased way I possibly can as the judge of this whole thing.
Okay, from now on, I'm not gonna speak to Mett anymore. So if there are any questions, Marc, I would like you to shortly summarize, because I'm not taking part in this joke of a charade.
Okay, well, let's just go through a few more comments and then we'll pick up where we left off right after Shortcut to the Top. As you know, bow down to the judge here, so maybe you should listen up there. Dan suspects that there's paid bots in the chat, paid by yourself to be here, although Ghost89 says, I'm not paid by Mr. Harras, and as Dan rightfully points out, that's exactly what a paid bot would say.
Dan, as an investigative journalist, I believe I trust his expertise.
Fair enough. Svenja just can't take Norman seriously. Dan says guilty, but Ghost says not guilty. Julian says not guilty. Pom 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 says not guilty and never was. Well,
Okay,
Svenja
perfect.
is calling guilty. Tim Hunn says guilty to be a good director of sports. I'm not sure I completely agree with that.
It's a lovely one.
And that moved fast. Can someone translate that one for me, please? Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. No one cared to translate.
He
for me?
said Norman is guilty.
Okay. Did he? Because here he says free Harras.
Yeah, he free Harris from his own tyranny by
I'm not locked up. I'm not
exposing the
going
truth.
anywhere. No worries.
And Newark says he's mighty defensive for an innocent man. The man doth protest too much. Okay, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Please keep those comments coming in. As now, Mr. Harras, we take a look at World Tag Team Festival, and our investigative journalist juror here says he's got something to bring forward. At Inner Circle before World Tag Team Festival, you were seen talking to the Bariqua boys, clearly to pay them and use them to attack Lavaniel. He wants to know what your defense here is.
Well, I have certainly been in contact with the Parika boys at the Inner Circle show because I brought them over here quite fairly. So I was very interested in how their travel went, how their accommodation was, if everything was living up to their standards. Because these two guys are stars. They are everything that is right with our sport. So I personally really wanted to take care that they're taken care of. And after a very dominant performance at Inner Circle, of course you get to talking. But that doesn't prove any business.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of footage here on YouTube, on wXw now, from World Tag Team Festival, where you use them to hide behind whilst verbally attacking Lavaniel. I mean, so, you know, not just, you know...
Whoa. Hold on there, cowboy. You have to think about one very important fact. At that time, unfortunately, I was a physically broken man.
In addition
of
to
course,
just mentally broken?
Ooh, low blow. Very, very smart. Very smart.
Thank you.
So, of course...
Quite proud of that one.
Are we done, Matt? Anything from your end?
You say you were a broken man, but I mean, of course, you took your time strolling around the ring being pushed by the Bariqua boys, and I happen to remember you somehow being involved in quite a few matches of Lavaniel's, namely against a certain Mr. Jacob Crane, where you may have assisted, whether advertently or inadvertently, in the calling of that match through a slight distraction which allowed Mr. Joey Keys to use that belt on Lavaniel. The belt buckle, in fact, so take that, cowboy.
I have no memory of that. I'm sorry.
Oh, we have that all in tape on wXw now. We can refresh your memory.
Yeah.
I would love to
you can go
revisit
watch
that.
it. You can watch it all wXw now. I'm sure you have a subscription here on YouTube, €9.99 a month. But I'm sure you've watched it all back just so you could sit there and admire your own image repeatedly for hours on end.
You know what? I'm very guilty of that particular thing. I gotta agree with you, Mark. I gotta agree with you on that.
So I'm sure you've seen
to make a long story short, gentlemen. At that time, I was in a harsh place. You know how locker rooms are. Everybody is full of testosterone. Everybody wants to go. Everybody wants to jump at one another's neck. And if you're the one who's been running the business, you are the one who has to make the not always friendly decisions. And you also have to have eyes at the back of your head. You have to have people that watch your back. You need to be safe. And on that night of the circle, the Farika boys told me, they told everybody. They made a statement when they arrived. So I knew those are the guys that I can put my money on to be safe around that weekend.
Sure. Okay, well, let's talk about Levaniel over World Tag Team Festival in a little more detail. Now, we saw that he did suffer a small injury at the wXw Academy in the weeks prior to Tag Festival. However, he was adamant that he was cleared. Several doctors said he was cleared. However, you yourself decided to come out and tell the world that he was unable to compete that weekend, and you robbed him of his chance to challenge for the wXw Unified World Wrestling Championship at World Tag Team Festival. Why?
That would be one very malicious way to look at it. But I have to clear the fog here. It wasn't any personal redemption going on. All it was simply bureaucracy. If you have ever dealt with German insurances, especially surrounding events, then you know how easy it is to fall. And I didn't want to take any risk. We've had cases before where people said, "Oh no, I'm perfectly fine. I'm fit. I'm healthy." They ended up getting injured, and who's the one who has all the papers on their desk the Monday after, the day when everybody is still hyped from the weekend, when everybody gets home? Everybody says, "Oh, it was such a great weekend. Everybody is so happy." And who has to clean the whole mess up? Me. The whole entire year. It was every damn week. And at a certain point, you're sick and tired of that. So yes, I was watching out for the company, for the best interest. But what I also did was I was watching out for Levaniel.
Okay, and you
One
say that...
One thing. No, please.
Okay.
Please, be patient. There's
Take
one
your
very
time.
thing that I'm not taking away from Levaniel at all, and that is how passionate he is. I'm actually very impressed by that. Still am to this day. But sometimes, when the bull sees red, he's just too narrowed down. His view is too focused on one little goal. He forgets his surroundings. He doesn't feel that there's already a spear sticking in his side, and then another one, and another one. And in the end, he just dies in his own rage. That's not what I want. Not at all.
Okay, well, you say that, and I see Julian here backing up, saying that normal protect is a valuable aspect of the main event scene here in wXw. So then, if we fast forward a little bit from World Tag Team Festival, why is it then that at Drive of Champions, when Levaniel was clearly not at 100%, you then forced him to face Tristan Archer for the title there, and once again try and rob him of his opportunity? If these insurances and these legalities, which are so core to the running of the business, why would you risk it that night?
That's a thing that I found very, very interesting. Because what you're saying right now is, in retrospective, I was perfectly right not giving Levaniel his shot at World Tag Team Festival.
No,
'cause it
I'm
clearly
just
was
giving you
not
the benefit
ready
of the
there.
doubt for World Tag Team Festival. I'm saying, okay, so if you were right there, why is it you acted the complete opposite way when it came to Drive of Champions?
Because after all, you are very meticulous with everything you do, Mr. Harras. If you make one decision, then it's definitely predetermined. If you change your mind all of a sudden, it's never really on a whimsy, is it?
I wouldn't go that far, no. But you also have to... I'm going to give you a little life lesson here, Marc. Unfortunately, business cannot always be run as one likes. There are external factors that you have to deal with. One of the external factors we've covered before, like the insurances, like all the troubles surrounding it. Another one is also a certain pressure from the public, from the peers. If you have a locker room, I've said it before, it's like a shark tank. If you have that, if you have emotions boiling hot, and sometimes you just gotta release the pressure a little. And I gotta be honest, at Attack Festival, Levaniel showed me that he really wants it. And even though, against my better judgment, I could not have been the guy who takes it away right afterwards.
It's interesting because, when we go forward again, and, obviously the events of Drive of Champions, you try to rob him of that title opportunity. The wXw Board of Directors stepped in and overruled your decision to say that that was his opportunity and he couldn't challenge again. And Levaniel was granted his shot properly this time when he was undoubtedly at 100% health and 100% ready at our December anniversary show in Oberhausen. And you got involved once again. This time, attacking head referee Tassilo Young, making yourself the referee in that contest, doing everything within your power to try and prevent Levaniel from walking out as the champion, and eventually, only because you had no other choice, finally making the free count and declaring Levaniel the winner and the new wXw Unified World Wrestling Champion. Why? That's what I want to know, Norman. Why?
And what excuse do you have for attacking one of our head referee, Tassilo Young? We all know that that's a very punishable offense.
That was coming a long time. That's all I'm going to say for that. On the other regard, I'm not one who stands his grounds if he knows that he might be wrong. There would have never been a position that I'd take.
I beg to differ when we look at the shotgun lottery situation. You doubled down on that mistake.
Or you tripled down.
What are we here for? You just want to throw darts at a what is it called? Excuse me, English is not my first language. I apologize. You're just fishing in the dark. You don't even know what you're going for. We've been talking about anniversary. Then you're jumping back months and months. All you have are little dots that you are trying to connect to paint a picture. But this is with you missing very important information. This is with your perspective from the outside looking in. There is much more that goes into this job. There is much more that goes into
Okay, so paint a picture for me. If there were issues with head referee Tassilo Young, which went back a long way, why was it specifically in Levaniel's championship match that you decided to do something about them and not backstage at any of our events? Why not meet up with him, get on the phone, get on a call like this one and speak with him? Why attack him during that contest?
Especially considering the fact that that is not only the head referee of wXw, but also an employee of yours. Do you realize that such an action could have caused big legal issues for wXw? Of course, you know that as a very well-versed man.
I prefer to remain silent on this one. Is that my right, Judge?
It is your right, but the jury will take that into account when making the final verdict.
Beautiful, lovely. But now coming to the real topic that we have here. What really happened that night? What happened over this whole period? I'm gonna tell you, pretty simple. I took Levaniel to the test like nobody else before, like nobody else after him. I was the one who was making sure that he is ready for the spot that he so luckily got his hands on. So all I did was protect our company, protect our interest, to ensure that if Levaniel would ever lay his hands on the big belt, on the wXw Unified World Wrestling Championship, if it should have ever come that far, then I wanted to be the one that could stand the day after and saying, hey, I did everything in my power to make sure that he is ready to take on that challenge.
Okay, well, let's assume, for the benefit of this conversation, that everything you just said is factual and true. And it's a pretty big assumption I'm making here. Why is it then that you set up 16 Carat 2023 as the first ever 16 Carat to be for the Unified World Wrestling Championship, only to put Levaniel in a position where you robbed him? And here's the thing, you cannot deny that you robbed him of this opportunity in Bielefeld at Road to 16 Carat. He won the qualifier. It looked like he could have won that four-way in the main event. But then, right when he was trying to break up a pinfall in the ring, there's you holding back his leg so he couldn't break it up, and that he was out of 16 Carat and he was stripped of that title. You can't deny that. There's video evidence. We all saw it. We've all seen it many times. Why set Levaniel up for this greatness, allegedly, only to then screw him less than 2 months later?
All right, so as usually, Mark, you're asking many questions at once. Like, if we take a more journalistic approach than populistic one, then we start at the beginning. So why would it make sense to set up wXw 16 Carat Gold, the biggest tournament in wrestling? Why would it make sense to make it even bigger? That's a very simple question, Mark, and there's a very simple answer. Because in the end of the day, if we look 10, 15, 25 years from now, whoever knows how long, if somebody sits there and is looking back at the history books of European wrestling, at the history books of wXw, there will be a certain era that will be remembered. And that era is the one where wXw was under my lead as director of sports. It was the era where I took the crumbling company that was just facing the biggest pandemic in the world, that was facing never before seen issues, where I took them, where I lifted them back up and brought them a success like it has almost never been seen before. If we look at attendance figures, if we look at the ticket sales, if we look how full the venues are again, how we are doing, the position that wXw was brought in, that is now still thriving, how I put all places, all the puzzle pieces right next to each other, preparing the company not only for the next months of success, but years to come. If we take that into consideration, then it makes perfect sense that the 16 Carat Gold was for the Unified Championship. Because then it makes perfect sense that the greatest era, the era where wXw could have fallen down, was single-handedly saved by the man in charge, which is I.
Whilst I have goosebumps after everything you said, it doesn't answer the question of why were you ringside during Bielefeld in the Fatal 4-Way, and why did you hold Levaniel as an official in the company, Mr.
And
Harras?
once again, I'm telling you, pieces. I have set the stage. I have answered one question. That question was, why was wXw 16 Carat for the belt? That is clearly answered. Everybody understands, right? Do you?
I mean, I understand that.
Perfect,
It sounded
thank you.
like
That's
3
all I
minutes
need
of
to hear.
nothing but
Thank you.
verbal self-gratification, but please, move on.
All right. So, since I am a very fair sport, I gave Levaniel the opportunity to qualify, to defend the championship. I gave him the opportunity. I set the stage for him to become immortal. But he crumbled, which is a shame. I would have been the first one to congratulate him if he would have won 16 Carat, if he would have remained with the belt. That would have been, well, never before seen. But unfortunately, it didn't came to that point. And you are certainly correct that my behaviorism, my mannerisms in Bielefeld might have played a little role in that. But that also once again proves that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't his time yet. Maybe he was a little too naive. Because there's history. He knows who I'm supposedly, how bad of a guy I am. And if I'm standing there ringside, he has to focus on more than the 3 guys he's facing. But that was just not in the books on that day.
whilst
see.
I...
I mean,
Right.
the thing is, you say he should have been more aware. But anyone who was, a fair, legit, and honourable director of sports would not have done that to begin with. They would have let the match play out. And here's the thing. If Levaniel had won, great. If he had lost fairly, then, myself and I'm sure all the other wXw fans would have accepted that. It would have been disappointing, absolutely. But it wouldn't have been anywhere near as disgusting or despicable as you and your little buddy Sebastian Suave interfering and forcing Levaniel out of that tournament through ill means. It was rotten to the core.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
You were rotten to the core.
No. So, Mark, now you're becoming the very emotional one. So let's be quite honest. To say it with the words of a very inspirational man that I took maybe some pages out of his book, controversy creates cash. It's months after, we still talk about that very day, we still talk about what happened afterwards, and never before was 60 Carat as hot anticipated as then. And that, alongside with the record numbers, that gives me all I need. That validates everything I did.
You may believe it validates everything you did, but you're not the person whose opinion here matters. In fact, it is the jury right there. So, with that, I say we have another recess to hear what the jury has to say.
Please.
Okay, well, Dan is just throwing up emojis. I feel you, brother. Ashley thinks no one needs some colour in that office.
No.
Harras says that judge is really handsome. Thanks for contributing to the case, I guess.
Well, it's not wrong, at least.
I guess. And our journalist friend here, Dan, brings up another interesting question. Why is nobody talking about Norman Harras costing OnlyFriends the tag titles at Dead End in Hamburg last year? Someone turned the result around. Do you care to answer that?
No. I don't.
Know why I asked. Well, we got not guilty, praise the Norman. Guilty, no matter what. Captain Charisma thinks you should have done more to Levaniel.
So sorry, may I interrupt you just for a brief second there? I think the comment that we just saw. Thank you, appreciate it. I think the comment that we just saw from Svenja is a very, very good example of what's wrong here. Why are we even sitting here? Guilty, no matter what. So facts don't matter. It's all about emotion. It's all about how we feel. Really, it's a disgrace. This is not the company that I built. This is not the judicial system that I want to be a part of. This is bullshit.
Well, you're a part of it this evening. Contractually obliged. I'm sure this wasn't what you anticipated when you created that contract that said we had to interview on this live stream. But here we go anyway. But you bring up an interesting point. I definitely agree that, there is some merit in the reasoning behind the actions you took. But I'm not sure that I can completely agree that it was the right thing to do. After all, you took many wrong actions. You did many wrong things, even if they were for the right reasons. I'm not sure I can get behind that myself.
But that's really the luxury position that you now have. You're looking at it backwards. It's always easy in the historical consensus to say, oh, that was a stupid decision. But when you're the one who has all the pressure on his back, you're the one who has to make that decision. That's what nobody talks about. That's what nobody cares about. It's so easy, sitting on the sideline, being what is it called, an armchair coach. Of course, everybody's always better than the professionals who play it. Everybody always know how to do it. But nobody has the balls to actually step up and put themselves into that position. So please, to both of you, to the whole entire chat, I dare you to step up, to try. Because I did, and I succeeded.
Succeeded in causing a lot of devastation and pain to a lot of people in your company with decisions that are, quite honestly, not only counterintuitive to any other human being in that position, but also very much questionable, which is, as a matter of fact, what I consider your actions from 16 Karat Gold to be. Because you see, in the main event, when you were against Bobby Guns, career versus job, you not only had many alliances, brought out many other individuals to bring it into the match that didn't belong there, changed the rule set of the match, but even tried to end the career of Jørn Simmons. What do you have to say about that match in particular, Mr. Norman Harras?
There are very, very many things that I would like to say about that match, but I think that the most important thing was the introduction that you just did. Would you do me a favor and do that again? Would you please?
16 Karat Gold, Bobby Guns versus Norman Harras, career versus
No,
job.
You're missing one very, very important piece now. wXw 16 Karat Gold main event. Bobby Guns against Norman Harras.
Potentially even the last main event Bobby Guns ever has, which you definitely tried to make happen.
It's true. It's true. I did all I could for it, and it's also true that I have to cut my loss there. That I did unfortunately not succeed at that particular task that I set myself. And you can believe me, I'm as disappointed as everybody else in that. But at the end of the day, it's really the losses that we learn from, that we grow from, that allows us to reflect, to take a step back maybe, and then reflect on what happens. It puts us in the position that unfortunately we are talking right now. So it's not all positive. But what I want to say is, it's okay to be human. I have to learn that myself. It's okay to fail sometimes. You just have to get back up.
So, okay, well, let's just skip over 16 Karat Weekend then. Let's jump straight into 16 Karat Gold Revenge. Frankfurt. When you were cowering in the corner, whilst Jørn Simmons, they were one of the most devastating pile drivers I have ever seen to one of your tag team partners that night, and you whimpered away like a scared little child. How are you building? How are you growing from that, Norman?
No. You're getting it all wrong right there. You're getting it wrong. So, what actually happened? What was the situation there? Was that I myself, I'm a very good sportsman. At that point in time, unfortunately, was not the legal man. I could not have taken myself into the match. So I am not the one to illegally interfere in that.
Well, it's funny because you really had no problem illegally interfering back at Bielefeld.
I was not in the match. Different story, sorry.
Oh, so it's legal because
I'm
you're
not
not in the
agreeing
match.
there. No, it's legal because I made the damn rules at that point. That's the difference.
Was that an
So what
outburst,
was-
Mr. Harras?
I mean, that feels like the same Norman we saw when he cancelled the shotgun lottery on us.
No. Das hat nichts miteinander. Totally different situation. Please proceed. What was the question? What were we talking about?
Marc?
The question was, how much did you grow from that failure? Failing to save your teammate, failing to find the courage to stop Jørn Simmons in that match.
It's a question that I would love to answer, but I think we've talked quite a bit up to this point. And even though I fairly enjoy talking, I think it's not a time to do so. Because how I have grown from that match, what it did to me, how it changed me, how that situation sparked a light in my core, is that how you say it? How it re-enlightened? Come on, help me out, guys.
Reignited.
Lovely, thank you. How it put me back on track, how it got my mindset back where it needs to be. Because I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I used to be the business guy. I used to be the guy who went off the playing field straight in the office, who had the 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, who was just, I was overflooded. Like it was rough. It wasn't easy. I gave it my all, but with the events of 16 Carat, that has changed. Now I can focus again on who I used to be and who I am going to become. But in Frankfurt, in that particular match, I wasn't really in one lane or the other. I was switching back and forth. And that damn look that Jörn gave me right there, that put me back on track. That put me back where I need to be. That showed me what I need to do. And what it is that I'm going to do, it's gonna be very obvious. Comes May 20th, come Fan. When I'm facing Jörn Simmons, he's gonna face a different man that he has not seen before. And I don't care about any bullshit stipulation that anybody wants to put on it. I'm gonna make a statement right there.
Okay. I mean, you talk about the long work weeks, the stress you were under. How do you answer the allegations that you were drinking on the job during that period?
Never heard of that before. That never happened.
Never.
Never.
No, I'm absolutely distancing myself from any. No, I'm.
You never once had a drink whilst working. Never once. Is what you're trying to tell
Absolutely
me.
not. No.
How do you answer allegations that you're a functioning alcoholic?
We'll even throw you a bone. You're a high functioning alcoholic.
No. It's. No.
I think we've lost him. Okay, I was expecting a little more attitude and resistance from that.
I guess you must have hit a nerve.
I mean, it would explain his erratic behavior and questionable decision making. I mean, if he needs help, we can get him help.
Oh, I think he's going to need a lot of help.
Yeah. Okay, I'm a bit of a loss for words. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how do you find this turn of events?
Well, it seems Dan is quite taken aback. Dan seems like he's quite shocked by that occurrence. Almost as shocked as we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that to play out in that way. Very strange. I mean, I have just been told that we are taking applications from tomorrow for the fans who want to be lumberjacks with the leather straps at Fan 2023. So if you want to be one of the fans with the leather straps in that match between Jurn Simmons and Norman Harras, then you can apply tomorrow on social media when the post goes live. The information is there. That will be happening.
And as a matter of fact, I find it perfect in this moment to say that this stipulation was not chosen by anyone but the fans. It was left to your choice online, and this is what you guys chose. God bless all of you.
Yes, yes, indeed. I am quite looking forward to that. So, Judge Moorberg, I have a question. What is this document you've just sent me?
Well, I was hoping that Mr. Norman Harras would still be here because losing your job is a very difficult thing to go through, and
Yes.
I very much understand that, and I have sympathy for Mr. Norman Harras where sympathy, where sympathy is due. Henceforth, I asked a very talented artist and picture editor to throw together a bunch of potential jobs that Mr. Norman Harras could look for in the future.
And these images I'm looking at, you want to share these?
Of course, Mr. Norman Harras needs, I thought it would be he would be very thankful to have his role in these jobs potentially visualized, because when you think about doing a job, it's different, against seeing yourself doing the job. And henceforth, it would be very helpful for Mr. Harras to be able to see himself, visualize himself away from the paperwork of a busy office and maybe in more social environments. So please, Mr. Shuttle.
Okay, Judge Moorberg, please explain what we're looking at here.
Mr. Norman Harras could have a future as a wonderful golf caddy, assisting all the golfers, finding all the balls, taking them, polishing them, taking care of the golfer. Next document, please, Mr. Shuttle. Of course, if he's tired of polishing golf balls all day, he could definitely work as a sanitarian, collecting garbage and throwing it to waste. Of course, that is something that Mr. Harras is very familiar with, garbage. Next document, Mr. Shuttle.
That's the truth.
Of course, Mr. Shuttle. Mr. Harras, he considers himself a gourmet, so it is very possible that he could become a cook. And who better to learn under than Mr. Gordon Ramsay himself? Of course, his future could also be more so in the direction of being a farmer. Manual labor might not be Mr. Harris's thing, but I think planting his own garden and living off the land is something that he would feel very, very much appreciative of. It might humble him slightly.
I don't know if there's anything that could humble Norman Harras. I felt like repeatedly he was just, I think the phrase used was verbal self-gratification. That very much felt like it.
That definitely sounds like what it is. We can see potentially Julian Russ likes the idea of Mr. Norman Harras working as a farmer. Cows, pigs, and Farmer Harras.
Why not? Okay, so Judge, what do we do now?
Well, the defendant is gone, Mr. Shuttle, so proper courtly protocol is to make sure that the court is adjourned.
Do we get a decision?
Well, that, Mr. Shuttle, you're going to have to leave in the hands of the jury. The jury have to give us the decision. So, dear jury of wXw, what is your final verdict on this trial of Mr. Norman Harras? We can wait. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will share my thoughts, my closing statement, if you will. After hearing from Norman Harras, clearly in his mind, he did everything for the right reasons. And certainly, there were a lot of things he did which benefited wXw as a whole, business-wise. Certainly, 16 Carat this year was a phenomenal success, and Night 2 sold out 1,100 people in the Turbinenhalle. Phenomenal, right? But it's the methods and the specific things he did to get there. And in my mind, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, ladies and gentlemen here in the chat, it's not a question of, is it fine because we got a great result from it? The real thing here is, should he have even done those things in the first place? Would wXw as a whole have been better off if Norman Harras had stayed well out of these things instead of getting involved, so that, maybe we wouldn't have sold quite as many tickets for 16 Carat. I think going in with Lavagna as champion, we would have sold just as many, if not more. But it's the methods, the specific things he did, those specific actions he took repeatedly, and we didn't even get to ask him about some of the other things he did. We didn't get to talk about the attack on the Vaniel.
Hello, gentlemen.
You're back.
Yes, I am. How does it feel being an asshole, huh? No problem whatsoever. But I love to put some pressure on you guys.
Okay, well, Yeah, thanks, Norman. Thanks for that. I've made a closing statement. What do you have to say in your closing statement here, Norman Harras?
Oh, we're at the closing statement.
We are.
Interesting that
we
is.
are.
Okay, gentlemen. I would like to thank you very, very much for this horrible childish display of your humor. Mostly talking to you, Mett. Mostly. But in the end of the day, I actually do appreciate the trial of myself, because it brought back some really good memories. Some stories that, honestly, I forgot at this point. So I feel flattered. And I wouldn't say so much it was a trial, but more a glorification of the era, of the golden era of wXw that was underneath the reign of Norman Harras. So therefore, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I certainly believe the people in the chat, your community, they agree with it. They will say, to keep the theme going, that I am not guilty, not at all. That I've always, just today, as in my reign, been a step ahead of you. I'm not playing your little games. You're playing checkers, but I'm chessing out right here. So gentlemen, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was lovely. Brought some joy in my day, because to be quite honest, I get a little bored. Now that I don't have to deal with all the office tasks anymore. I have time on my hand. I don't know how to use it properly, because I have never been in that situation before. But hey, that's okay. As long as the payroll is up, and as long as the company credit card still works, I'm fine with dealing with your little game. Pleasure was all yours. Cheers.
I mean, if I can ask just one last question here, Norman, and I guess this is off the record now, we've given our closing statements.
Mm-hmm.
But did you just admit to misuse and misappropriation of company funds? Because that's what it sounded like to me.
No.
Especially the fact that you're not in that position anymore. Why exactly haven't you handed over the company credit card yet?
Okay, so there's one very thing that you guys are mistaken, and also the subtitle here in the video is mistaken. I am off duty. That is very differentiated from a termination. So
You were
it's not like
terminated. You were fired. You lost the match. You were fired. That was the stipulation.
no, I'm not agreeing with that. I would love to go into more details, but we have some lawsuits still ongoing on that regard, so I can't really talk about it.
It's okay. I'll talk to my judge buddies. I'll find out what's going on there. Don't worry. I'll update you all on Twitter. Mr. Norman Harras. If that's even your real name.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I think we did good, Mark.
I don't know if we are getting any justice here this evening. Like, looking at our ladies and gentlemen of the jury here, it looks like it is an overwhelming, like, lean towards not guilty, including Captain Chris is saying not guilty because of intoxication.
That's not how the law works. That's not even nearly how the law works. I don't even need to be a judge to know that's not.
Do
how
you
the law
even
works.
know the law, Mett? What the
Yes,
hell are
I'm
you
a
doing?
judge. Isn't it obvious? I went to law school for all of the last 2 weeks. Come on.
Were you just reading Wikipedia articles?
No. And that's. I'll tell you later why that's bad. What you just said.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to have to agree with Dan here and say it looks like the only way Norman's going to learn his lesson is a big-time beating at the hands of Jørn Simmons. But remember, ladies and gents, it's not just at the hands of Jørn Simmons. It's also at the hands of you, because fans are the lumberjacks with the leather straps in this match. And you can apply to be a lumberjack from tomorrow when the post goes live on social media. And you know what? For that, I really want to be a fan. I really want to give this man a whipping. Jesus.
Hey, I'm going to get to sit up top. I'm going to get to yell at the top of my lungs every time he gets whoosh from the lumberjacks. All right. As much as I would love to be a fan, this is going to be an event. Well, I mean, to be fair, what better day to have the whipping of Norman Harras than at Fan Appreciation Night? This is our gift to all of you. So,
absolutely. And do you know what? Next week, we are going to be speaking to Norman's opponent on that night. Jørn Simmons will be live here on the wXw Monday Livestream. Don't miss it. It's going to be interesting to hear what Jørn has to say about everything we've experienced here tonight, or I don't know, maybe that's best forgotten.
Hey, I bet Jørn would love Judge Mett, Judge Milberg. Jørn would be a total fan of Judge Milberg. I'm a big fan of Jørn Simmons, and I'm a big fan of what he's going to do at Fan Appreciation Night. But I'll leave it for now.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. I feel kind of sorry we didn't really get anyone any real answers or real justice here this evening, but we'll see what happens over the coming weeks, and hopefully we'll see some of you this Friday night in Hamburg, this Saturday in Papenburg, and again at Fan on the 20th in Oberhausen, where once again it is going to be Jørn Simmons and Norman Harras in a Fans of the Lumberjacks with leather straps match. Thank you all very much for joining us. We'll see you again next Monday.